Salem City Council Committee of the Whole is meeting tonight in person on Monday, September 15th, 2025 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of receiving an update of the Salem High School building project. This meeting is being held in the Salem City Council chambers at 93 Washington Street, Salem, Massachusetts, on the second floor. The way that the meeting will be conducted is we will first hear a presentation from the mayor and the folks from the schools on an update on the building project. After that, counselors will be able to ask questions and make comments on what was heard at the presentation. And if time allows, we will have public comment. Public comment will be limited to 15 persons. I'm sorry, 15 minutes, which means if we have 15 people that want to make public comment, that'll be a minute apiece. If we have less, then of course we'll give more time for public comment, but we're limiting it to 15 minutes. So if everybody understands, then I ask everybody to please mute their phones and act accordingly with decorum, and we can begin the meeting, which I will now turn over to Mayor Pingello. Mayor, you have the floor.
Thanks, Councilor. So joining me this evening, we have Dr. Zreich, Superintendent of Public Schools, and the co-chairs of the High School Building Committee, Nate Bryant and Rick Jones. And this is a presentation intended to provide the council with an update. It's been a while since we've been before this body about this project. The last time was related to the funding request for the feasibility study phase, so a lot of work's happened since then. We're going to walk through a little bit about what's prompted the need for the high school building project to move forward, issues with the current building, goals and vision for the district as a whole. And then we're going to talk a bit about the project design, milestones, and where we're at in the project. And then we'll also have a kind of a high-level view at costs for the different options. And yeah, open up to questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Zreich, who's going to start us off. Oh, and I want to apologize. We wanted to have the hard copy of these slides available for you, but we had a printer problem, so we did email them out, so hopefully you have them by later.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here and speaking about what is a very exciting project for the future of the Salem Public Schools and the children of this city. I just want to give you a little bit of context. The history on this building is it is almost 50 years old. The majority of the building was built in 1976 and constructed with one academic wing and one vocational arts wing that is connected by a lobby and media center. Those of you many of you graduated from Salem High School and have been there many times, so you know it well. There was a renovation in the early 2000s which focused only on the academic side of the building, which certainly helped, but it partially renovated water leaks, improved some of the academic spaces and the roof, but the vocational arts wing went largely untouched at that point, and that's where we have the most significant issues in the building and where the need came to go to the MSBA. When I came here now, it's hard to believe, it's 5 years, just over 5 years, I heard a lot about this building and the fact that the district was trying and the city was trying to get support for renovation of the the building and to do something about, especially around the art spaces, the athletic spaces, and then the CTE spaces, which, as you all know, we've invested a lot in bringing up our career and technical education spaces over the last 5 years, but they are woefully outdated. And so we were very grateful that the MSBA allowed us, if you can go to the next slide, into the pipeline for a new project. Many of you know that the Salem High School is an energy hog. It is a building that is responsible for 25% of the city's usage of energy. The mechanical systems are shot throughout the building. There's a lot of failures and much equipment that we're just band-aiding together to get through both the heating and cooling seasons. The controls, we've lost control literally of the building in terms not of the students, but of the building, of the cooling and heating in the building. And then there's much that needs to be done to bring the building up to code. The electrical distribution and lighting is certainly inadequate, especially for the kind of work that we're trying to do in our CTE programs. And then the gymnasium, as many of you know, is failing, is unsafe in different parts, poor condition of the floor in there, and the ceiling, and we have lost control of the different systems there. And then, of course, there's the presence of asbestos. It increases in cost and limits to its repair. I will just say that if you want to know more about what the condition of the school is, just ask the students. The cost in 2025, and Rick will talk about this later, of just bringing this building up to code is astronomical. And you'll hear more again from Rick about what that would do if we did nothing at all. I think the stakes are certainly very high, both fiscally and in terms of programming for our youth. Next slide. Then from what I can talk, I certainly don't know much about the mechanical systems as others, but I can talk about the instructional spaces. We're behind in what as our programs now have outpaced the facilities in CTE, and so we want our kids to be prepared for all the trades, for the opportunities that they have to go into career, and our spaces are not up to par in CTE. Our communal spaces, which are spaces not just for our schools, but for all the city of Salem, like the library, cafeteria, hallways, all the gathering spaces are, we have lights that fall, as you know, in the auditorium. We don't have heat in the auditorium. We have to pump it in ourselves. It's certainly not up to match with what we're trying to do for our kids. And then our traditional classrooms are undersized. They fall below MSBA averages now. They're outdated, and they don't fit the bodies of young people in 2025. They were obviously built for 50 years ago. I'll just end by saying we think it's our turn. Our students deserve the best. This is our moment in Salem, as all the other local communities have had new high schools in the last decade or so. And we're also a school on the move. I think this community needs to remember we're investing in a school that is improving dramatically right now. Salem High School is one of the highest performing gateway high schools in the state of Massachusetts. I think we were third on the MCAS last year, and we continue to improve. Our advanced placement scores were the highest on record last year for the school, and we have a booming enrollment. 2 years ago, we had under 800 students. This year, at this moment, we're almost at 1,000 students. People are coming back to the high school, and all of you know how strong our arts programs have been. They are certainly renowned in the area, and our sports programs, I'm grateful to say, are improving such that we actually have teams that are headed to the playoffs, we think, this year. So with all of that, we think this is the right time to invest in our high school. I'll turn it over to Rick Jones.
Thank you, Steve. So as a reminder, I'm Rick Jones. I'm one of the co-chairs. I'm joined by Nate Bryant, who's here behind me as my fellow co-chair. I'm a parent here in Salem. I have 2 kids, 8th grade and 11th grade in the schools, and I'm a small business owner here in Salem. I have an architectural practice, so I am an architect. I am not the architect for this project, but I am an architect, and my work focuses in the education space, so I'm familiar with what we're talking about here today. So we wanted to kind of recap where we've been, and Dr. Zweig talked about this a little bit at the summer of 2020 during COVID, and into 2021, the district undertook a district-wide master plan that looked at the whole district and system-wide to understand what recommendations should be made. One of the things that fell out of that was an update to the Salem High School for all the reasons that Dr. Zweig articulated, and in 2022, in December, the MSBA voted to invite us into the eligibility period for a feasibility study. In June of 2023, the building committee was finalized, and then I think I was here in front of you on March 26th in 2024 to talk about appropriating funds for the feasibility study. Since that time, in May of 2025, we hired a owner's project manager, Accenture, to help manage the project, and then subsequently hired a design firm, Perkins & Will, and the images you're going to see tonight are things that were produced by Perkins & Will and their design team. Perkins & Will, in my opinion, has done a great job. They have about 25 consultants working on the project with them, so it's no small small task to kind of herd all those cats. As part of that process between October and February, I think my years might be off there. Sorry about that. Between October and February of this year, we looked at different grade configurations. We looked at a 7 through 12 and a 9 through 12 at a very conceptual level, and it was determined that largely for cost reasons, to proceed with a 9 through 12 grade configuration. In April of this year, we looked at traditional design bid build procurement and CM at risk procurement as an approach, and we elected to go forward with CM at risk for some reasons I can get into if you'd like. I did want to recap for everyone in the room what public construction in Massachusetts looks like. So when we talk about Chapter 149 or 149A, all public construction in Massachusetts is governed by MGL 149 and 149A. 149 is traditional design bid build, where the design team would produce a set of documents that would go out to open bid to the marketplace, and then you would choose the lowest bidder. Chapter 149A is construction manager at risk. Under that methodology, you hire the construction manager earlier in the process, typically recommended for projects that are incredibly complex or phased, as our project is, because we're going to have a very complicated site strategy. So we are currently in that construction manager selection process. Also in Massachusetts, all contractors and subcontractors must be DCAM certified. All filed sub-bid trades must be pre-qualified. That means that the 18 trades that are governed by the law that require filed sub-bids must be pre-qualified to participate on the job. They have to confirm that they can provide the quality, the workforce, everything that's involved in completing a project of this size. All contractors and subcontractors are required to pay prevailing wage. Project we established as part of the selection process for the CM at risk participation goals for minority-owned business, women-owned business, service-disabled veteran-owned business, or veteran business enterprises at those thresholds that you see on the screen. Additionally, local Salem Code 2-1862 articulates a good faith effort required of contractors and subcontractors to achieve 20% of total hours from Salem residents or those that live within 10 miles of the city of Salem. So those are kind of the ground rules. There are many, many more details to all of that, obviously, but that's kind of the high-level version. So where have we been? Continuing with where we have been. We, in May of this year, as part of the MSBA process, you're required to look at, as Dr. Zweig mentioned, a renovation-only scheme that would only bring the building up to code and not change anything about the building in terms of its classrooms, teaching spaces, et cetera. You're required to look at a renovation-only scheme. You're required to look at a renovation addition scheme, and you're required to look at a new construction scheme. We opted for new construction in large part because it shaves a year off of the construction process, and when you add 12 months to any construction process, you're paying the CM or the general contractor and their subs for additional on-site presence, which comes at a price tag. So we opted for a new, you're also subjecting the kids and the faculty and the administration to a gnarly multi-phase project that they're going to have to live in while it's being built. So what you'll see tonight is a new construction approach that builds the building adjacent to the high school and then tears the high school down and puts fields where the high school are. The next vote, we had many votes, of course, along the way. I've only picked some highlights here. In August of this year, we voted on a project labor agreement, and that was defeated 9-4. And then here we are tonight for the City Council update. So what lies ahead? Is it this week?
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be interviewing CM at Risk. Those are the 4 finalists you see on the screen. Gobain Shawmut, teamed with WT Rich, Skanska, and Suffolk. All major, large construction managers in the city of Boston, all signatory to carpenters and laborers unions. In December of this year, so what we're working on now is what's called schematic design. By December of this year, we should have that completed. Well, actually by November, because it'll take 3 or 4 weeks to develop the cost estimate. So by early December, we'll have a determination of cost. The committee will vote to submit schematic design to the MSBA right before Christmas. We will need to file the bond order and the order for a special election in January of next year. The MSBA vote will be February. They review the drawings and the narratives and all the things that we submit, and they ask questions and we provide responses, and then they vote in February. And then that would mean a May vote on the project that would be citywide, and hopefully starting construction late 2027 and occupancy for fall term 2030. Questions about any of that background look ahead before I get into the building design? Or do you want to pause, Mr. President? Or
I think you should finish with your
perfect.
presentation for us, so let the councilors take their notes before they address you.
Very good. So what you see on the screen is the site plan. You guys all know this site. But you see Highland along the top left of the screen, Wilson kind of along the top right of the screen. You see Horace Mann on the right-hand side, the elementary school. There's a black dashed outline right in the middle of the plan. That is the existing high school footprint. So you can see we're building a building in the white on the left-hand side. We're building a building between the existing building and Highland Ave. So again, so that we can keep the existing high school operational and avoid all the costs of a prolonged phased construction or temporary classrooms or any of the pain and sunk cost that comes with that. And then once the building is completed, the existing building would be torn down and we would put playing fields back in the middle of the site where the existing footprint is. It's constantly evolving, so this slide is 6 weeks old, so it has changed, but I can tell you that what we have is a MIAA compliant baseball field, softball field, soccer field, a multi-purpose field that does soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, et cetera, as well as the 5 tennis courts for competition play. What you're seeing here is the ground floor of the building. Again, Highland is along the top of the page. That existing building would be to the bottom right of the page, and that you're seeing there, the new athletic fields. So as we flip through these plans, the aqua-colored spaces like auto and marine, you see labeled there on the left. Those are all your CTE programs. You see the gym and the auditorium at this main floor, the cafeteria at this main floor. You see the child care suite is at the top right, and the administrative office is at the right-hand side there. So competition for ground floor space is always at a premium for these projects because everybody wants to be on the ground floor, but it gets taken up by a lot of these big programs that require a lot of square footage, like gym and auditorium and things like that. Then as you move up through the building, so you're seeing the second, third, and fourth floor from left to right here, still seeing the CTE spaces kind of sprinkled through the plan, and then the general purpose classrooms in pink and purple along those long bars, those fingers. I think one of the most visionary things about this project when we first started, and I asked Mario, who runs the CTE programs, what is your vision for the CTE program? I mean, when I was in high school, it was in a different building, right? And you didn't go to that building if you weren't in CTE classes. He said he wanted the CTE programs to be commingled and integral with the mainline classes, the college preparatory classes. He said he wanted those kids who are going to physics to then walk into the carpentry studio and understand the applied principle of physics. So I think that is incredibly visionary, and it's a really exciting aspect to this project that I think is unusual. And you guys should be happy that you have Mario and Drs. Reich and Glenn, the principal, kind of driving those conversations. So this is a kind of early 3D model. Again, you see Highland along the back, and of course, Market Basket and everything is off the top of that page. You see the athletic fields in the foreground and a new drop-off and turnaround, and these arms that kind of open up to create an entry, welcoming space at the front of the school. And then here's a view kind of lower down with that drive on the left and kind of plaza walk-up area on the right with the main entry there on the right-hand side. Okay, sorry, that chart's a little small up there on the screen, but what you see on that chart is 4 rows. Code renovation only is the first row. Renovation only is the second row. Addition renovation is the third row, and new construction is the last row. So we're moving all the way over to the right-hand side there to see $456 million. So a new construction option, total project cost of $456 million. The MSBA will reimburse somewhere between 45 and 60% of that number. We don't know what that number is until we get to December when we have the final costs and everything. And it's a very complicated formula that's way above my pay grade. But we are assuming 50% for now because we know historically it's in that range. So the $456 million would be 225, 230 for the city. Taxpayers are going to cover, we're going to ask the taxpayers at a vote to cover that through temporary property tax increase. What do we get out of that? We get a new building. We get a next generation high school with expanded CTE programs. I didn't mention that, but they're going from 8 offerings today to 11 CTE programs that would be offered in the new building. Updated and expanded academic and arts programs, and expanded athletic fields. You would be able to do baseball, softball, and soccer on site. Football, of course, would still be at Bertram, given the investment that's been made in Bertram Field. That last one there, net zero energy. So this project is targeting net zero energy as a goal. As Dr. Reich said, Dr. Reich said, this is building as an energy hog. The annual electrical and gas cost to operate this building is between $800,000 a year and $1 million a year. So if we can get to net zero energy through the geothermal well field we're planning and solar photovoltaic panels we're planning, we would be creating a kind of deferred cost or an avoided cost, I guess, of up between $800,000 and $1 million a year to the city. We all know energy costs are only going one direction, they're going up. So the better we could do with that, the better we'll be. And we had a call on this today about the solar PV. We're going to work up numbers that show what that avoided cost would be and what the simple payback on that investment would be. But we're still in the process on that. So I'll close with this slide. So if you vote no, if the city votes no, just to bring everybody up to speed, you're looking at a cheaper project. You still must do all the code upgrades. One of the things that came up at our last accreditation was that the programs are great, the curriculum is great, in terms of the education of the kids, everything is great, the building is a mess. And their recommendation was we needed to start looking at renovations, and that's what prompted all the work, was one of the things that prompted all the work we've been doing. So we would still have to start addressing code problems. And as Dr. Zweig said, the mechanical systems are at the end of their useful life. They're 50 years old. So they all need to be replaced. So if the vote fails, we still have to address the needs of the building. There would be no shared cost from the state. It would be 100% on the city. We would likely have to spread the project out over 30 years or more and do it in small incremental phases of $8 million, $10 million, whatever the city could afford at a given time. Of course, we know, you guys know better than I do, what the city budget is for capital improvements and what that would do to anything else that needed to happen, sidewalk, roads, other city costs. And what would you get at the end of that? You would get code upgrades. The building would be safer, it would be accessible, it would meet current codes, but you would get no educational improvements. You would not get expanded CTE, academic or athletic programs. There would be modest energy improvements, but you would not get to net zero energy. And I think what you put at risk is accreditation and student attrition. What that doesn't take into account is escalation. So as architects, we assume somewhere between 3 and 5% escalation per year. Through COVID, we saw 3 years in a row of 11 to 12% escalation. We don't know what impact the tariffs are going to have on construction, but I have seen them going up. I've seen our costs going up. So it's not really a $354 million project. When you spread it out over 30 years and you do a $10 million project a year, but add 5% per year for 30 years, it's a much bigger number. So I think that's the last slide, and happy to take any questions or what have you.
Before I turn it over to the council, is there anyone else from the school department or the mayor's office that would like to speak? Seeing none, I'm opening up to city councilors. Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. Thank you, Mr. Jones, Dr. Zarek, Mayor Pangallo for the presentation. I've been to several of the community meetings. I'm a big fan of this new project. I want a new school, and for all the reasons that were outlined and more. I also invited a few of my very best friends from the greater Boston area, so thank you to everyone in the room who came to join us. I want to start with I'm not very technical, so I'm going to address the energy hog situation. People know that I come from the sustainability solar heat pump industry, and so PV fixed costs are very, very positive. And I'm a big fan of geothermal ground source heat pumps, and absolutely that may be the best way to go. However, is it the most financially viable? For example, and so anyone who can speak to the geothermal, it's important. Does anyone here have an estimate of what the geothermal system will cost as a ratio of the $450 million?
We will in December.
Okay, that's good enough. But for example, an air source heat pump system is about 40% less in installation costs, material costs, and significantly less in maintenance costs because the system is above ground. A project happening in Ipswich decided to go with air source system. They actually were originally doing geothermal. The project is for a renovation of a school, and Noresco, which is related to Amoresco, advised them. Their project for the geothermal was going to be $5 million. For the air source heat pumps, it was going to be $2.5 million, because I'm also concerned about the taxpayers. Also, there's a particular kind of VRF, variant refrigerant flow, 3-pipe, usually heat pumps are 2-pipe heat system, which is heat recovery and energy sharing, just like you can have with geothermal with multiple sites. So the question I have is, has anyone in your group, in the committee, analyzed or had offers of other systems that would be alternatives to geothermal?
So Risk-Frost Shumway Engineering is the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection engineer for the project. They're a consultant to Perkins & Will. They have generated narratives for most all of the things you're talking about, Councilor Cohen, and I would say geothermal is still one of the systems we're looking at, and there will be, multiple things priced because we want to evaluate the pros and cons. This may be more efficient but more expensive. The payoff, the simple payback may be longer, but is that something we want to invest in? So I think it's a complicated formula, and that's something we're going to be looking at.
I don't have an answer, but I think what Ipswich looked at was, just as an example, is it possible to realize the payback so that it would benefit the taxpayers if you get two systems that are both equal as far as environment? My next thing is about the prevailing wage project, which was mentioned. All the people working there are subject to prevailing wage. There's been a misconception about overcost with PLAs or unions or whatever, but there are very few contractors in Massachusetts who can do a project this size. You have 4 of them coming in to be interviewed, and this is really kind of an important thing. In general, these contractors are all going to, purchase materials at roughly the same cost. The differentials are wages. So if everyone is prevailing wage, whether they're a union or non-union worker, it really belies the question about why it would be any more money to go with some of the people a minimum guarantee for unions. I also want to mention that in March of this year, Governor Healy issued an executive order requiring state agencies to consider project labor agreements for projects exceeding $35 million. This means that contractors, in her words, in her statement when she signed it, would have a trained and ready workforce to turn to and a plan for meeting deadlines, staying within budget and keeping everyone safe. In many cases, PLAs can help make that happen while promoting good job opportunities for workers of all backgrounds, including veterans, women, and minorities. Here's another quote by someone else. By promoting the strategic use of project labor agreements on large, sophisticated construction projects in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the governor and her administration are taking action to ensure the most complex projects are built by a cohesive, well-trained workforce with the knowledge and experience to enhance project safety and prevent cost overruns and schedule delays. We applaud Governor Healy's efforts to prioritize safety, workforce training, and fiscal responsibility on construction projects that will have the greatest impact on our industry and region. Anyone know who said that? That would be Suffolk Construction Company CEO John Fish. In addition, Shawmut, which is another one, in addition to Suffolk that's being considered, just signed a PLA for their large Somerville project. And here's the last quote for this subject. Project labor agreements have been proven to result in successful construction projects in the public and private sectors, from the Holyoke Veterans Home to Gillette Stadium and TD Garden. We're proud to take this action today, March of this year, that will make our agencies, make sure our agencies are paying close attention to ways in which they can maximize success of their projects while supporting incredible diverse workforces in Salem. That was Kim Driscoll. I also want to address a association, ABC, a lot of people call it Associated Builders and Contractors, which was used to present information about costs. I personally think they're anything but a friend of workers, any workers. As recently as last year, the ABC, including the Massachusetts chapter, filed a lawsuit challenging a federal regulation requiring PLAs on federal construction projects over $35 million. This is something that is unbelievable. The Supreme Court of the United States ruled in a judgment against ABC of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, in a case involving the way they interacted with the community about project labor agreements for the Boston Harbor cleanup. The judgment is the Supreme Court ruled against the ABC, holding that the NLRA did not prevent a state agency acting as a market participant rather than a regulator from enforcing an otherwise lawful pre-hire collective bargaining agreement. For over 100 years, unions have been targeted by right-wing demagogues that label them as communists that only create extra costs. I'm proud that when I was 22 years old, I was elected unanimously by the 84 other employees of my bargaining unit at the Boston Water and Sewer Commission to be their shop steward, and actually was the lead negotiator on the contract in the contract negotiations. We portrayed ourselves as motivated employees with aspirations of mobility, and if treated fairly, would kick ass for the commission. The contract was mutually beneficial. I regularly bring union reps, actually brought the mayor, Dr. Zreich, Jamal, Charles, to a youth build class that I teach. But generally, I bring union people in to explain the benefits of their apprentice programs. They become highly trained, understand safety procedures, and the values of professionalism and dependability. I'm currently on the Clean Energy Center Renewable Energy Board for the CTE program, and we'll be teaching a class this fall for CTE. I'm really proud of the work that's done. What really bothers me is, Crowley, who has come to my class 3 times, as part of their PLA, has guaranteed that a student from Youth Build, these are students who have overcome more challenges than almost anyone in this room has ever experienced, and they get, if they graduate, they get an OSHA 10 or OSHA 30 certification and a high school equivalency. I wish it was a diploma, but they are motivated and they want to work, and Crowley, as part of their PLA, will hire one of the Youth Build students that I teach. In Salem, we still have Massachusetts' strongest wage theft ordinance. And when the mayor signed it, he spoke of how we need to change the behavior of companies that work in our city. Since the ordinance, we have found several instances of wage theft. And for every one we find, there's probably 10 or 15 that we haven't found. Every single case we found is from a non-union shop. So if you care about the workers, understand that the union people in this room don't just fight for their union members. They fight for people who are in non-union shops to make sure they're safe. We all brag about our CTE program and everything else, but for most of us, work is one way we define ourselves. It gives us a sense of who we are. It's really important that people who grow up and live in our environmental justice community have an opportunity to work on this project. Beth Ann Cornell, who is both on the school committee and on the committee, the building committee, sent me a text on Thursday night. And in it, she said, I want to give you some backstory about how this whole vote was handled by the OPM, the project manager, and the mayor. So I invited her to come. I guess she's not here, but I would ask the mayor or anyone else to give us some feedback of what that backstory might have been about the vote.
I can take that. So when we were approached by the North Shore Trade Council to asking us if they could present at the committee, the co-chairs of the committee said, we think that's totally fine. We want to hear the countervailing opinion, and we want a neutral party opinion. And we got all 3 of those. They all 3 presented, and that's what we talked through with the OPM. We discussed with the OPM who the third party should be, who the neutral party should be, and we worked with the cost estimator to get that information.
Okay, I'm just going to turn it over back to the president for other comments, but I'm going to make a statement. When Crowley and the building and trades and other unions negotiated and passed the PLA just a short time ago, actually about I think the same year as our wage theft ordinance. Everyone in the community thought it was a terrific thing. Senator Markey was here, the governor, the lieutenant governor is here, the mayor bragged about how this would benefit our community. We have a community where we want kids to go to the high school, as Dr. Reich said. It's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons, AP programs and everything else, that it's so attractive now is the CTE program, which is going to get better. I want the people who live in our community to work on a project, and the only guarantee that that can happen is through an arrangement like a PLA. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to be listening to the rest of the councilors for him, so I'm just going to ask you folks just to give everybody an opportunity to speak and not interrupt. I can understand that some of the crowd is very pleased with what some councilors were saying. Some of them may not be pleased, but I just want to wait till the end of the meeting, and then you can have your public comment and agree or disagree. I see Councilor Harvey. Recognize you have the floor, Councilor Harvey.
Thank you, President Prezinski. Unfortunately, half of what I was going to say, Jeff already took up. So I wholeheartedly agree with everything Jeff just said. But as far as the project party goals go, who's going to oversee that if it's not a PLA? Who's going to make sure that there's so many women on the project, so many minorities on the project? Who's going to oversee that particular situation? Because I know, just so you know, I am a union member, been for 27 years.
Electrician, yeah?
Yes. And I know for a fact that if I called my union hall tomorrow and told them I needed 500 guys on the job the next day, those 500 guys would be there. How is that going to happen with a non-union shop? They're struggling to find help now.
That's why you have the pre-qualification. That's why you have the pre-qualification process for all filed sub-bidders.
Who's going to oversee that?
Are you going to grandstand or let me answer?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me? Okay, do you want me to answer the questions or not?
Folks, listen, please. I want to hold this meeting fairly with decorum, okay? Questions, comments run through the chair. It's not a back and forth debate between the council and anybody else in here. So if you have a statement to make, I'm speaking to the councilors and to the presenters, it's made here. And we give people the right to be able to answer those questions without interruption. So Councilor Harvey made a point and he had a question and it's being answered now. Let's take it from there. You have the floor, sir.
In 30 years of working on Chapter 149, Chapter 149A, private CMAR, private design bid build of projects from $100,000 construction to over $100 million construction, I've seen this managed in many ways. And on this project, we'll be doing certified payroll. We'll see everything with every pay application. Pay application won't be approved if they don't have a certified payroll. Those targets are targets for minority women and local participation. The legislature does not call it, will not let us call it anything more than a goal. It cannot be a requirement. And in terms of the labor workforce, that's why you do pre-qualification of filed subbidders, to make sure that they have the capacity to do the project. And if they don't have the capacity, two guys in a truck are not going to work on this project. They don't have the capacity to do the work.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Councilor Cohen, for basically asking all my questions.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Presnewski. I want, in terms of the PLA conversation, would love to get clarification about when we talk about the vote that happened 9-4. I've heard mixed things about whether that is final, whether that can come back, whether there'll be more discussion, what kind of next steps are. I'd love
We're selecting a CM at risk, and we have, through addendum, informed the CM at risk that we are not doing a PLA. That selection is tomorrow and Wednesday. So we cannot select them and hold them to their number without clarity on that. So we have given them that clarity. We voted 9-4. The information has not changed. They both presented, and we had an independent party tell us their opinion. I don't see how any of that has changed. I don't know why we would reopen the issue. It was clearly 9-4. It wasn't 8-7 or 7-6 or what have you. It was very decisive.
Thank you. In terms of my personal opinion,
I'm sorry, that is my personal opinion as the co-chair, obviously. I can't speak for anyone else's vote. I can only speak for my vote. I can't speak for Meg or Nate or Paul or anybody else who's on the committee.
just to put my personal feelings out there, very, very strongly in support of what Councilor Cohen said so well, Councilor Harvey. For me, the same values and kind of logic that lead me to enthusiastically supporting an investment in a new high school are the same ones that would lead me to want a PLA. For this project, I think that it's the same logic and values. We invest in our kids, we invest in the future, we invest in workers. It's not only the right thing to do, that word investment is literal. We make that money back in multiples. So that's strongly something that I support. So I am extremely disappointed in the decision that was made, and want to give a thank you to the Massachusetts Building Trades Union. I've got two different kind of research reports in front of me that have the very similar findings, that in terms of this fear of a cost barrier, right? That there's the evidence actually does not support the PLA's raise costs. In many cases, it actually brings costs down because of the what's baked into PLAs in terms of things having to be the time limits and different determinations there. So that's my own personal 2 cents. Thank you.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, you can.
So for the sake of this committee, the independent third-party cost estimator said that when you reduce competition, you increase cost. The worst possible thing that can happen to me when I go to a walkthrough with bidders is if there are 2 people standing there, 2 electricians, because I know they know that only the 2 of them are bidding on the job. The best thing that can happen is I walk into the room and there's a dozen, because they know that they've got competition. When you limit competition, the cost will be more. So to Jeff's point, the fiduciary responsibility of our committee is to look out for the taxpayer. That is why, again, personally, why I voted the way I voted. I can't speak for everyone, but that was part of my calculus when I made my decision.
Councilor Girzolo.
Thank you, President Prosnowski. I just had a couple questions and then a comment. Maybe Dr. Zerk can answer this. The academic programs, can you talk a little more about that? I had 2 children that graduated from Salem High in the last 6 years, and what was lacking was preparatory classes, AP classes, guidance counselors. Can you talk to some of your programs that you're thinking of putting in the new building?
Yeah, I mean, I would just tell you that right now we have about 73% of our 11th and 12th graders are in advanced coursework. I can't speak to 6 years ago, but I know now that we offer early college programs with North Shore Community College and Salem State, and we have more AP offerings than we've ever had before. Mr. Burns, under his leadership, has expanded the offerings, and now we offer AP courses to 9th and 10th graders, which were never offered before. There's been a real emphasis on trying to up the academic rigor at the school, and you can see that through the results that we've had most recently on state assessments. I know that's just one piece of it, and then of course the advanced course placement. I'm not saying we don't have work to do, we do, but I think the school has made some tremendous gains under his leadership over the last, I think he's in his 5th year now, and it's the first time we've had consistent leadership at the high school in a while as well. So I feel like and I think we're very competitive. Some of our MCAS data was stronger than some. I'm not going to call out this, even though I'd like to call out those suburban districts that we have outperformed. The reality is I'm very proud of the academic program that Salem High offers now, and I hope this will only complement it to have a state-of-the-art facility.
In your next presentation, could you possibly outline the different programs that you're
Yep.
going to present?
I could, sure. I hope you'll invite me back to do more of a state of the schools, and if you want me to focus on the high school programs, I can certainly do that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One other question, that hill in front of the parking lot, is that going away or is that staying?
That's a very costly undertaking because it's all ledge. So as you can see there on the site plan, Counselor, that L-shaped parking lot is the parking lot that's there. It would be improved, obviously, and we're looking at solar canopies over that. And then that green kind of area in the corner of the L is that knoll of rock and landscape. So that's remaining. We're not taking that out.
To see that go. I'm walking at night with elderly parents, and it's treacherous, especially in the wintertime. If at all, just take it down or make it a pathway that's level, that would be huge.
So one area we've improved that, and if you look on screen there, you see 2 red arrows that say entrance around that yellow kind of finger that's on the right-hand side. So there would be an entrance on either side, and it is much, much closer to the parking lot than today, where you have to either walk around that knoll or walk up and over that treacherously pitched walkway. So we see those 2 entries. The bottom one is being the day-to-day school entry, and the other one being for like dramatic, arts or gym, basketball game, volleyball, what have you, so that people can park and come and go through that entry.
I was actually a graduate in 1982, and since then, it's been terrible. I think spending all this kind of money, that should be leveled or something done that people can actually walk. I mean, in the wintertime, it's so treacherous. So, and I just had one other comment. I'm just very disappointed in the decision to not move forward with a project labor agreement for building our new high school. Union labor isn't just about fair wages, it's about safety, quality, and accountability. Our unions provide highly trained local workers through apprenticeship programs. That means fewer delays, fewer mistakes, and better long-term value for taxpayers. Without a PLA, we risk losing this opportunity to keep good-paying jobs in our community. When union workers earn fair wages, that money stays right here, supporting small businesses and strengthening our middle class. I understand concerns about cost, but cheaper isn't always better. Quality construction lasts longer, requires less maintenance, and ultimately saves money. This school should be built by the men and women who live here, pay taxes here, and raise their families here. I urge us to reconsider and value union labor for what it brings to our community. Thank you.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Prosnewski. And I would like to thank everyone for all the work that went into everything that brought us here with this proposal. There's a lot to really love about the new high school, everything that was presented here, environmentally and benefit for the educational programs. It's really impressive, and I do appreciate that work. Clearly, there's disappointment in the committee not voting for a PLA, and I won't reiterate what the other counselors had said about the benefits of union, hiring union workers and labor. It's a very long list. So, and some of that was already touched upon tonight. I'm hoping moving forward, and I want to recognize all the guests here tonight. I appreciate you being here, and I'm looking forward to the comments we hear, and also. I'm hoping moving forward, more communication takes place with labor, by the building committee, by city government. It was mentioned that, the targets are a goal, not a requirement, and I'm really hoping a path forward can be found, to secure union jobs. I wouldn't want to think, just after one vote, so many doors are closed this early in the process. I would really want to see those conversations continue and then explore to put some guarantees, with labor instead of targets. And the work to achieve this and the conversations that need to be had, the information, that the unions would like to present, that all still happens, even though the vote already did happen. Thank you.
Councilor Stott.
Thank you, President Presnewski. I would like to start by saying thank you for the presentation this evening and for the information to council. I'd also will note that I am a member of the High School Building Committee and have been since the inception in 2023. And one of our first meetings that we had in the winter, I think, of 23 or 24, was a tour, a full tour, like a special tour, like we went in the belly of the beast of the high school. And as a visitor to the high school, I remember thinking, like, this is a dated high school. We need a new facility here. But if you ever go in and see the boiler room and the If you go in and see the boiler room, the furnace, you may feel like you've entered the Titanic at that point, and we might all be going down quite soon. If you've ever gone and seen a performance in the winter in the auditorium and shivered in the cold, I've talked to many teachers that just state that they cannot control the temperature in their classroom, and it's just extremely painfully obvious that Salem is ready for this. We need a new high school, and it is super exciting that MSBCA accepted our application after, I think it was, we applied 5 years in a row, 10 years in a row, something pretty extensive. So this really was a big deal that we are accepted into this and that we're part of this project. So I want to acknowledge that and just thank the High School Building Committee for working on this for the many years that they've been working on it since 2023. And during that time, they've made a lot of decisions, and they are a voting body, and they have voted on many things prior to this most recent vote that we're talking about, which were touched upon. So the designer selection, the project manager selection were one of the first earlier votes, and that really kind of set forward the meeting, how they would be run, how we would be organized. Not really that controversial. The great project manager selections, designer selections. I would say our first vote that we took that was really intense conversations amongst the community were determination of grade configuration. There was about probably a year-long conversation of whether the junior high would be located at the high school or it would just be a high school building. There were many conversations with the school committee itself. I think they did the final vote, along with lots of forums with parents, with schools, and a tough vote was taken, and the High School Building Committee also determined how that grade configuration would happen. They also took a vote on the procurement method, which I think came here at one point too, because it was construction manager at risk, similar to, we voted on that once for Forest River Park as well, so they had to take all of those items into consideration. And then the most recent vote was the determination of the preferred option for, there was also the whether or not new construction or code upgrade. That was another big vote. And then the most recent one, the determination of labor agreement. I will note I was not at the August meeting that meeting took place, but I would have been another vote with the majority. The matters that were, the facts that were put forward during that meeting that I went back and watched and read all the information that was provided ahead of time, just like one does before they take any vote in any body. And it was just not presented to me that it would have been something that is absolutely needed. And I think for me, the biggest reason is a project labor agreement. You have to use union workforce, not in that you can still use union workforce. There are many questions that I get as a counselor on the High School Building Committee and also as a parent of a Salem Public School student related to this High School Building Committee. Who will be building it is not one of the questions that I get. I do get lots of questions, what are going to be the programs, like Councilor Jersla's question. Safety, I get a lot of questions about the safety for the new building. What is the safety consideration? As a band's parent, I get, will the field house remain? That's a big question. And is it true about the Salem Diner? Is that going to really be added? Because that would be cool. But the two big questions that I get are, when will it open? Will my student be able to be there? And how much is it going to cost me? And I think that that is something that, as a counselor, as a voting member of the high school building committee, I always need to take into consideration the 45,000 tax-paying residents of the city of Salem and what it means to them, what it means to the person that does not have a student or will not have a student, but we will be asked them to pick up this bill. We need to be very thoughtful, very understanding, and considerate while we're making these decisions. And I respect the high school building committee, and I appreciate the work that they have been doing so far. And I will just end by saying I am so, so, so excited for this new high school building project. And I really hope that going forward in the new year, we have some great conversations about the expanded CTE programs that are also coming, the new athletic fields that we could possibly have, the net zero energy, and hopefully reducing that 25% energy cog that we have within the city, and really just moving forward of getting what is best for our students, for our kids, for our teachers, for our administrators, and for the city of Salem.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. I'll be brief, at least for me. I just don't understand the limiting competition, increased competition argument for this reason. There's many people, including in this room, who are in unions like the IBEW or Building and Trades that are in multiple shops. So competition happens when a CM or general contractor, whoever, is going out and bidding masonry or, pipe fitting or whatever it may be. They're looking at, the best quality, the best price, whatever. And they may actually be looking at multiple shops that have the same unions. There's a real misconception that a PLA is 100% union. The Crowley one wasn't. Most of them are like minimum 50% union. But I want to touch on one thing that gets over, because we really focused on whether it's union work, which I think union work is better work. There's a situation where someone who's on a work site injures themselves or maybe has some kind of substance issue or something like that, and it's really unsafe for them to be on the job. And what will the union do? They'll pull that person off. They'll be able to replace them with another qualified person, okay? Whereas the non-union shop tends to be like, hey, you have to keep working because we don't have anyone to replace you. But the really big thing about this is we keep locking in the union component of the PLA, but it's way more than that. In my opinion, we're an environmental justice community, a gateway city. We have a high ratio of people who are low income, who live in vulnerable areas, who have an opportunity, whether it's Youth Build or the CTE program or whatever, to work on a project like this. And in the Crowley project, it was 50% of people from basically Lynn and Salem, marginalized communities. It's also 10% women, 20% people of color. Now, I think those could be bigger. I'm just thinking about the Latina who is going through the CTE program, who's a certified carpenter, who's the best carpenter in the class. I want her to work on this project. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the councilors? Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, President. Thank you for the presentation. This is an exciting project. My kids graduated in 2010 and 2012, and they were both musicians, and felt very cheated that the academic wing was upgraded, but none of the performing arts space was upgraded. And I've attended many, many performances in that auditorium, which is always freezing cold. The lights aren't appropriate. It's embarrassing, I think, for the kids and for families. But the interesting thing was, even after the academic wing was upgraded, there was still no heat, which, it's 2025 and we still can't figure out how to create a good environment, heat and air conditioning. It was always a battle. So I'm looking forward to this new building, and I appreciate the work of the committee. I know that you guys are doing your best. I appreciate the conversation about the labor agreement. From my understanding, it does not exclude union labor. But I will say that I know you're doing the best you can, and you're working on the information that you have. And I wouldn't want another body to come in and question the votes of the city council without having gone through all of the meetings and looked at all of the information in front of you. And so I'm just going to say I'm trusting the work of the committee. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions from the council? I'm going to open this up now for public comment. It's going to be 15 minutes, and if we do have 15 speakers who would like to make a comment, you're more than welcome to take the podium. Just before we start, I just want to let everyone know that tonight's meeting is informational only. The council is not voting on any issues tonight. All we are is receiving the information necessary to make this process move forward in a much more responsible way for the taxpayers.
Want to get a count?
So,
Everyone raise your hand.
excuse me, Councilor Cohen, I have the floor. So before we start, I would like to remind everybody we have 15 minutes. Be mindful that everybody will get a minute to speak, and be mindful of the person speaking and give them the respect and the time that they need to get their point across. Thank you. First speaker, could you state your name?
Hello, my name is Dan McNulty. I'm with Massachusetts Building Trades Unions. I'm here tonight with my brothers and sisters from North Shore Building Trades Unions, from the North Shore Labor Council, teachers, nurses, Teamsters, you name it. We are deeply disappointed in Salem and the school building committee in this vote because we do not believe due diligence was had. I completely agree with what the counselor was saying. You get the best information in front of you can, you make an informed decision. We're not saying the school building committee is experts in labor policy, but that's exactly why you need that analysis. The two-sentence analysis from the OPM says that it will reduce bidders and raise costs. There is no evidence behind that to point to. We've sent in information, we have this. We have a sample size of 700 public projects in Illinois, 500 with PLAs, 200 without. Found increased bid competition, no impact on total project cost. We want this to be a conversation based in data. That is crucial to us. But in this process, Salem, the school building committee, the administration, we need that analysis to be thorough. We're talking about cost. The co-chair just mentioned that image of two bidders really hurts this whole entire effort. That is a dangerous image, so that needs to be based on data and information. We have to reach that.
Time, thank you.
Just to finish, I'm sorry. There's two other transparency points I want to point out, and I've been representing the trades here on this. The RFPs, the requests for proposals for the construction managers, we were very clear with the OPM as well as with the administration that a PLA needs to be a notice of bid. It needs to be a bid factor before that goes out. RFPs were sent out 2 weeks prior to us presenting. The consulting report that was presented at that meeting, the 2-sentence thing, reducing bid competition, was given to the anti-union group 3 days before we presented. That was part of their speaking remarks.
Excuse me,
We saw that day of.
I'm going to cut you short because you're taking up someone else's time. Remember what I said, this is not the end-all to the project. You will have time to speak at other spots, and if you want to go to the back of the line and reseat, if we have time, we'll get to you.
If someone doesn't mind yielding me a minute, I just want to close out. I got a brother back there just yielded me a minute. I will keep it, I appreciate you.
1 minute, go right ahead.
That 2-sentence report talks just about cost. The law that was passed in Massachusetts says safety, local hire, diversity, schedule, apprenticeship. Safety, union job sites are 20% safer. That was not part of the analysis. How would you feel if your kid was working on a job site that was 20% less safe, not being a union job site? Apprenticeship, we have 75% of all apprentices in building trades unions. That includes 88% of all tradeswomen apprentices, 80% of all trades people of color. These are factors that were not included in this third-party analysis, and we trust that Salem will really listen and consider that third-party analysis by your folks. This process we find was flawed. This is not due diligence, and it's a missed opportunity for Salem residents. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Rodrigo Badaro. I'm the president of the North Shore Building Trades Council, and I'll summarize. I've been here for the past 3 years in Salem, actually speaking to students at the CTE program, speaking at Youth Build, and many times going to non-union job sites, assisting workers, non-union workers to collect the stolen wages. But most important, on the last 2 years, I've been here on behalf of the community and the building trades, negotiating 2 PLAs. One with Avangrid that covered the offshore/nearshore piece of the offshore wind industry, and the second one, the latest, with Crowley, with the JV, a joint venture selected by Crowley. And I'll tell you something that not many people know. There was a point in those negotiations that they said, you have a PLA. Why do you want diversity? Why do you want local hire? And I said, this is a deal breaker. Between the president of the State Building Trades and ourselves, this is what we represent. We have a duty with the community. And now, let me just finalize real brief.
You have a minute, sir.
Just one thing.
You're just cutting.
Please.
Again, if you want to yield, have someone else yield. We only have 15 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the question that I have, why is a PLA a good thing for the private sector, right? Good thing? Can anyone agree with it? Because everyone is outraged by the federal cuts that stopped the Port of Salem project, right? PLA for private sector, what is the difference between the public sector with the taxpayers' money? I just wanted to know, because when we walk into those negotiations, we were given 10 minutes to make a presentation. And the question about what is a PLA, who signs a PLA, never brought up. So I can say as a president of the Building Trades Council, that room was already compromised and voted against. And most important, and I'm sad to say, that Salem has missed a great opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll be quick. My name is Chris Effner. I'm a journeyman glazer out of local 1044 in Boston. I have about 12,000 hours honing my craft. You are not going to find that in a non-union worker. You're just not. The training that we receive, every single week we do a toolbox talk about safety, this, that, any and everything. Do you know that last week on a construction job in Boston, a non-union worker had to be rescued out of a 3rd-story window by a Boston Fire Department tower ladder because, and these are OSHA words, that company failed to provide a competent person on that job. Really? You couldn't provide a competent person? That tells me that those type of companies care about the money and not the people. So you can go ahead and go with that, but imagine the lawsuits that you're going to be opened up to as a city if something like that happens. So,
thank you.
In closing, there's an analogy in construction that skilled labor isn't cheap and cheap labor isn't skilled. Please remember that when the school is built. Thank you.
My name's Chad Carboni, Salem resident, business agent in Local 12, Boston, Massachusetts. I represent 2,500 members, many of which live in Salem and Essex County. I grew up in Lynn, Massachusetts, moved to Salem years ago, from probably 15 years ago. This is where I grew up. I'm a taxpayer. To the gentleman's point just before me, the programs that we set up for apprentices, 5-year apprenticeship for plumbers and gas fitters, to go through that many hours, get their licensing, get their certifications, to make people safe, quality, craftsmanship. I want a school that is valuable. I want the value to be within that school. I don't want a quick, easy fix. I appreciate the work of the building committee. I really do. Governance is a difficult job. It really is. I appreciate everything everyone's doing. But the increased cost, the arguments against PLAs don't hold any weight. Any increased cost, I worked on the power plant down the street for 3 years. We were at Red's every morning having breakfast. We were at Bill and Bob's every afternoon having a roast beef sandwich, a super three-way. And we moved on. We plowed that money back into the community.
Thank you.
Every day. Would appreciate a reconsideration on this PLA immediately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Rafael Campuzano, and I am a Salem resident, and I'm also very proud Painters and Allied Trade Union, which I have been for the last 22 years. I have a lot of faith in this project. Ever since I heard about the project was the proposal for the high school, and my family and I have been banking and waiting on this project, and also multiple family members and friends that are union members that need an opportunity. Also, I have a line of apprenticeships that need an opportunity, and they are banking and waiting for this project. And this is really disappointing for me just to hear that. This came as a shocking for me, hearing that there's just a denial on the PLA. I was really having my faith in actually making plans for this project, and I'm feeling sorry for the committee taking a poor decision on denying the PLA. I think PLA is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, my name is Lydia King. I live in Ward 5 in Salem. I am very excited for my future children to hopefully go to this school. I'm in favor of the school being built. I have also knocked thousands of doors in Salem this year, and I will say that overwhelmingly people ask about the high school what, and they ask about how the high school will be built well, with good quality and good standards, and they do actually care about using union labor and making sure the laborers are local laborers and treated well, and they do care about things like the apprenticeships and the CTE programs plugging into how the high school is built. So people, I think, overwhelmingly would, if they knew what was going on in this room, overwhelmingly in Salem would support everyone around us right now. I will also just quickly say that the City Council, Councilor Prosnewski said it here, they are taking information tonight, and there is no vote happening tonight, which is the standard for the City Council often. You all meet in committees, you take information, you go think about it, you talk to experts in the area, and then you later on vote at City Council meetings. So I really would have liked to see that level of transparency and process with the building committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, councilors. My name is Aaron Paternoster. I'm the labor appointee and current chair of the Salem Housing Authority. I'm also the vice president of my local at GE, IFTY Local 149. And I'm the parent of 2 kids currently in the Salem Public School System. But most importantly and most proudly, I'm a delegate at the North Shore Labor Council. And I'm speaking right now as a delegate that this vote by the building committee personally personally feels is a slap in the face because to me, it just reinforces accusations of performative allyship. Everybody loves the Labor Council and everybody loves labor when they need them to knock on doors, but when it comes to securing work for this community, it seems that there's not an appetite to engage in any type of creative problem solving and to make claims that this decision was based on data that was provided by a notoriously anti-union consultant firm similarly demonstrates a lack of creativity and a lack of willingness to embark in the hard work to try to solve problems and make our community better. Just one last thing I just want to say is, as a vice president of my local, one thing that I constantly tell union relations with my employer is that there are tools to accomplish everything that you want to do, you just have to exercise them. So to claim that union labor is some monolith that is not willing to make concessions or not willing to work and come with a creative way to secure this work on this project, to me, is disingenuous.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexander Seelig. I'm a Salem resident. My wife is a city employee as well. I am a member of Sheet Metal Workers Local 17 as a journeyman. That job and that career has given me the opportunity to become a resident and a taxpayer in this city. Keep it brief. They're labeling this school as the school of the century. The last one only lasted 50 years. Do we want that to be this school as well? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emmy Lou Manuel. I'm a resident of Salem as well, and I am also a strong supporter of union labor. I'm also a strong supporter of this high school. I know that it needs to get built, and that I think that it's best if it's built safely and correctly using local labor. But I think what I wanted to focus on today, mostly and especially as an attorney, is just kind of the lack of transparency, not even just in this committee, but I think in Salem overall, it's very hard to find agendas when you want something, to find meeting minutes when you want them. And I think the fact that there's a separate Salem High School Building Committee website that doesn't post the agendas and posts mini snapshots is really confusing to actually find what you're looking for and what's going to be on the agenda certain days. I wasn't even aware that the Salem School Committee was on, or the Salem School Building Committee was on the Agenda Center until today, because every time I Google it and pull up the website, it goes to its own separate website with some meeting minutes, but not all of them are there. And so I think, you know, from like an open meeting perspective, making sure that those websites are parallel is really important, and making sure that school building committee members who have left the committee are no longer listed as on the committee, and that anything like that is kept updated so that everyone involved has kind of a chance to respond appropriately and knows what the process will be.
Thank you. Point taken. We'll take a look into that. Thank you.
Good evening, councils. Thank you for hearing us tonight. My name's Russell Bartash. I'm the treasurer with Sheet Metal Workers Local 17. And I'm sure you know about the benefits of union labor. You've heard it here tonight. You've heard it from our brother electrician over here. What I would ask this body to do is reconsider taking this vote. Get with Rod and Dan, get the right information, and make a good decision for the residents of Salem. Also, to do your due diligence, I would encourage the councilors to visit our training centers, then try and find a training center somewhere else of comparison, and you'll see the difference in the skilled craftsmanship.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ted Burnham. I am a Salem resident and parent of 2 kids who will be in this high school when it's built. So really appreciate the awesome work that everyone's been doing, designing and organizing for it. I'm not a union member. I am a member of Democratic Socialists of America, and we stand in solidarity with working class people everywhere and our siblings in unions and the labor movement. I heard a lot about my tax dollars as a Salem homeowner who pays property taxes tonight. A lot of assumptions about that, and just wanted to go on record that I want my tax dollars used to pay people well, to pay people in the local community, to support each other. That's it. Thank you.
Perfect. And the 15 minutes are up. Just before recap, I think everybody in this room wants to see a new high school. It still bothers me that I may be the only one in the room that graduated from the old high school, and the price of the high school that stands now was exorbitant and something that was talked about back in the early 70s. I still can't understand why a building that was built in my lifetime is going to be torn down in my lifetime because of the poor quality of the workmanship. And I'm not going to point a finger as to why that was such poor quality of the workmanship, but that building started to fall apart almost immediately after it opened. I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers of this city that we have to roll the dice again and find another company that won't responsibly build a building that will last more than a lifetime as it should. So I think with due diligence from everybody in this room, the city council and the mayor's office, that we make sure that this next building that we build stands and lasts for a long time. With that, I will take a motion. Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, President. And just before I make the motion, I just want to make clear once again that the City Council is not making the decision on the labor agreement. That is with the Building Committee. So I just want to make that clear. This was an informational meeting about the project. And with that, I would like to make a motion to receive and file the presentation.
Seconded by Councilor Stott. All those in favor? All those opposed? The meeting is closed. Received and filed.
Wait, we have to take care of the item first. We have to take it. Second motion.
You have a second motion.
Yep. And I move that we
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you. And I move that we keep this item in committee for further presentations.
Councilor Marcello moves that we keep this in committee for the next presentations. Seconded by Councilor Merkel. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries.
And I move that we adjourn.
Councilor Merkel moves that we adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're invited. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.